All right, ladies and gentlemen, guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Soda Who You Dig. This is your host of the evening, DJ JustJayOK. We are on the line with a young lady, and she goes by the name of Sister Rati. Is that correct?
That is correct, and thank you so much for inviting me on this evening.
It is an absolute honor to have you on, sister. How you doing? You doing all right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, I know that it was a long funeral for Aretha, but I was just glued to the set. I couldn't move. Every, aspect of it, was 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 there for it.
Wow.
And everyone made their contribution, and it was a solid, solid program. And until we ran into the Jasper fella,
Guys,
I just fell apart.
if you guys are
Um,
not familiar with what she's talking about, then she's talking about the eulogy of my best friend and my uncle and my cousin and all that good stuff, Reverend Jasper Williams Jr.
is he
She,
really your relative?
no, I wish he was
Okay.
though, because I'd claim him. I'm like, that is family right there. I loved every minute of it. So
Well, listen now. Hey, we all have our style, and really, I think like a lot of the singers, I admire a lot of those singers. Everybody was nervous, but Jasper, I think what, of course, in the subsequent days, I've combed through some articles and talked to a few people, and from what I understand, he is only a year younger than Aretha. To your knowledge, does that
that
sound correct?
they're pretty close in age because I know that their parents were friends and
Yeah.
yeah, they've known each other their whole life. So I would have to assume that they're pretty close to within the same age.
Yeah. Well, what seemed to come through for some people was that it looked like he may have had a little bit of jealousy for
Mm,
the queen.
really?
And when I heard it, when my friend made that suggestion to me, I said, "Well, why are you saying that?" And then he went on to, again, all of the accomplishments of the Franklin family, and then he, compared that to basically um, a lackluster career as it pertained to the Williams uh, father and son. Uh, I know that Jasper made some records, and I know that Franklin was his, he really looked up to Reverend Franklin. But you mentioned in one of the videos that he had an education, and, and that that's commendable, you
Hmm.
know. However, it just seemed that his eulogy didn't come from a place of really the truth about Aretha's accomplishments. Like, he made the innuendo about her being a young mother, so to speak. He didn't seem to come out directly. But now I ask myself, and I ask you, he is said to have done the funeral for Reverend Franklin.
Yes.
Did he make a big stink about young unwed mothers then? Because wasn't that the
Well,
90s or
well, well.
something?
But how long ago? But that was where I was. That was exactly where I was getting ready to go. How long ago was that compared to where we are now?
Was that the 90s when her dad died?
I'm assuming. I really don't have any idea. I'm not going to even try to.
So Aretha's kids was grown in the 90s, and he didn't make a big fuss about unwed mothers, at Reverend Franklin's funeral.
Do you think it
And,
was? Do you think it was?
huh?
Do you think it was as much of an epidemic as it is now back in the '90s? Because I think it was on the
Hey,
decline, but I think we're like scraping the bottom right now.
I didn't look at any numbers per se, but I'm simply suggesting he went ham on Aretha.
I don't.
And in my
I
opinion,
disagree with that.
people say, well, it wasn't the time. Well, it's never the time unless you're going to say it right in their face.
Mm-hmm.
You wait until somebody's dead, and then you want to go left, but you didn't say that when their protector was in place, when their daddy was right there. Her dad was right there when she had her child at 12, if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
She had sisters that helped her. She had her baby's daddy. I'm sure he was somewhere in the community, whatever the deal. It wasn't like she was 12 and alone on the streets. What, you know, where is Reverend Jasper coming from to, in any way, try and insinuate that Aretha is somehow to be put down at her homegoing for being an unwed mother on two occasions? Because I'm
Actually,
under the impression she was married when
I
she had two of her other sons, is what I was told.
all right. Well, I have an answer for you. So here we go.
Uh-huh.
Hold on just a second. Let me, because I need to write this down. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I need to write this
Yeah.
down. So all right, so here we go. I want to let everybody know, and again, thank you for everybody that's watching the show. If you would, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up. It'll let other people know that we're live. We are on the phone with Sister Rati. I actually saw this young lady in my comment section, and I saw a comment that she posted. I decided to respond to it. And as some of you guys know, that when you do post in my comment sections, I do pay attention to every comment that's in there. Some of them I will let be, and every once in a while, I might find something that I want to respond to. So if you don't mind, what I want to do is I want to give people some context, and I want to let them know what message was actually posted, which allowed us to start interacting. Is that all right?
Oh, fine. Thank you.
Here we go. So this was about a day ago, and again, this was on my video that that I did on Aretha Franklin's eulogy, which was hosted by Reverend Jasper Williams Jr., who was an awesome man, by the way. But here we go. So her message was, where are his white on white crime numbers? Latino on Latino. They do exist. No, dummy sellout Jasper has only inflated one-sided numbers about blacks, but from where? Jasper's report is hogwash. But listen, in words. So I gotta cut some of this stuff out because, like I said, I don't want to get flagged. But listen, if you kill a white person, it won't matter if whites kill whites or not. Your ass is going to jail. So what is Jasper's point? Now that's part one. Here's the rest of it. This speech, Bill Cosby made one similar to this once. Yep. And if I'm getting any of this wrong, please let me know. Cause this stupid predator, Jasper stank eyed Chaka, and had no words when Ariana was being molested on stage by his colleague. This man is a filthy pig. This man is a filthy pig. It's his hypocritical Uncle Tom life that does not matter. He is dirt. And we have more. Ultimately, there is a difference between a single mother and a divorced or widowed mother. Or that was a question mark, so I'm assuming that's a question.
Yeah, is there?
Okay. Oh, ultimately, is there a difference between a single mother and a divorced or widowed mother? Okay. I have answers to all of these questions. This pastor wants to unleash an army of pedos on any black household that is unmanned. What kind of BS is this? I'll say BS. So I'm paraphrasing. This man will rot in hell with the devils. His life is the one that doesn't matter. Funky fool. And guys, we have more. All his lies and BS numbers are pathetic. Races have been killing each other since the beginning of recorded history. Why single out our community? Institutional racism is the KKK. Take your lying and BS half-ass report and go straight to hell. lackey, sellout, punk. Blacks are the first, and after us, there shall be no more. And stay your BA, as in female dog, ass away from the children of single mothers. Pedo trick. Aretha is the reason for the season, and she wanted to be known as a great mother. Blessings to the Franklin family. I'm sure they felt their loved one was a great mother. And again, this is the words of Sister Rati. Do you agree with those words or do you deny any of those words before we break this down? Because that's a lot. That's a mouthful. And that was all. And that was all before I gave my first response, actually. But yes, it was quite a bit. So I'm assuming that what I said in my video prompted some of this because I agree with some of his sentiments, or how do you feel about this?
Again, I saw everything occurring in real time. And after, if you may recall in watching the funeral, that Shirley Caesar got up and walked off of the dais when Jasper began his spiel about Black lives don't, won't, can't, ain't, but your mama stank, matter, all that. She got up and walked off. Mm-hmm. And she had been there the whole time. And I knew that what I was hearing was something that was not going to be, well responded to. And as Jasper got off the stage, before Stevie started, you may have noticed Jesse came over and whispered in Stevie's ear. So then it was at that time, Stevie was probably going to say something. He was most likely paying attention when Jasper was speaking because, he's an astute man like that. But Jesse wanted to make sure that he heard what you and I and everyone else heard this man say at Aretha Franklin's funeral. And so, of course, Stevie's response was, hey, all lives matter. Black lives matter because all lives matter. And Aretha was about the love. And he went on to try to clean up the mess. I was struck right there. I got on the phone with some of my friends that are what I call, people like you and others, race people. And from the beginning of time, we've always had those that were concerned with the culture and the civilization and the community and all these things and upheld these taboos and mores and founded them and promoted them, all these things. So I called, one of my main people, and he and I he flipped out more than me. There was a lot going on. I really wasn't, but he kept bringing Jasper back to me with all of these reports that he had read. And the more, information that he brought back to me, of course, then I said, okay, I knew he was prompting me to get hyphy. What happens for me,
you got to do me a favor. Right. You got to kind of shorten this up just a little bit because, like I say, you've given us a whole lot to try to address here in a relative short amount of time, if you would.
Okay, I was moved to go on the internet and make this comment because what he did was wrong, and that's why I did. That's how I came to your page, and you responded, and I appreciate that. And I looked at some of your other videos, and I respect your format. Everyone has their own thing.
Are you familiar with what my format is?
Well, is that other guy? Let's see. Is Tommy Sotomayor? Is that the guy that used to go around saying that black women weren't this, that, and the other, and having all this trumped up videos about it? And is that him?
I can't answer that question because you'd have to be a little bit more specific when you say, like, is he the type of guy
Okay,
that goes
what's
around
your
and
affiliation with him? Because you're not him, right?
correct.
Okay, but you are just affiliated with him.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, anyway, so that's kind of as much as I know, dear.
Yeah, we commune in truth and logic, and the thing is what we believe is that truth and logic should always be basically we commune in truth and logic because of the fact that you have to start taking your feelings out of things because the way that we're going in the United States and society as a culture right now is not in a positive direction. And the problem is what everybody sees is that everybody sees us going in a direction that's not good, but everybody has their own opinion about how we got there and what we need to do to fix it. Can we agree to that?
Sure, everyone has their opinion about how to fix things. Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their unique perspective, but this is the problem that I see with our community. The problem that I see is that we speak about allowing free speech, right? We want to uphold these amendment rights, our constitutional rights to have free speech. But what we tend to do is when other people's free speech doesn't line up with our beliefs and our thoughts and the logic that we believe that we have, then what we do is as a group of people that may be able to shut down another person's voice is we use any and every tool that we have to try to either discourage someone from having their point of view, or we try to overrule their point of view, or we just try to outright shut them down. That's where we are now. That's a huge problem. The reason I say that, and the reason I'm going to segue right back into my brother Tommy, is because, yes, Tommy has some very, very unique ideas about what we need to do as the Black community, how we need to view things, and what things are problems and what things are not problems, okay? But the problem with that, though, with him having his opinion, is people do not challenge his opinion. They don't actually have facts that they bring to the table to break down his facts or the statistics that he gets. What they do is they say, you know what? I don't like what you said. I don't like that you have the ability to say it. It hurt my feelings. I know someone like that. Maybe I'm like that. So you know what I'm going to do? Now that I have the ability to flag you down, now that I have the ability to complain to someone else that's bigger than me, that has the ability to shut you down, then we're just going to make you stop talking. As opposed to either coming to the table, round tabling and having a conversation about it, A, or B, allowing that person to have their free speech, or option C, bring facts that would actually cause this person to view things differently if their facts are incorrect. It's a very simple thing, but what I don't understand is why people feel like they need to shut someone's voice off completely. I don't feel like that's ever right. I don't care who it is. Because the thing about me, what sets me apart from most people is that I'm fair, even if it's not to my advantage. And most people are usually going to do things that are to their advantage. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Now, I was looking at one video. You mentioned the fella, is it Eric Holder, the guy that was in the chokehold and who had the daughter?
Eric Garner.
Eric Garner, okay, yeah. And you mentioned that his daughter had heart disease and she was overweight or something?
That is what we end up losing a majority of our sisters to is heart disease. Yes, overweight, being overweight. That is a statistical fact.
Yeah, well, I was with you up to the point, where you were saying she was young and she was doing her work in the community. And I really thought that's what the story was going to be about. But with the heart disease, that took it in another direction. I kind of felt like she was being maybe blamed for her death or something.
Blamed for her own death?
Yeah.
Her health is her she has every bit of control over her health. Especially when it comes to something like...
I'm just saying that's the way it struck me, But how it is with this guy, William, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he certainly has the right to say anything he wants, but it doesn't make it correct.
Okay. Okay.
And
Wait. Hold on.
the
Let's. Which direction do we want to go? Do we want to go to his point, or do we want to talk about the points that you wanted me to address in your message? Which way do you want to go with that?
well, whichever way you take it is fine.
Okay, let's start with your first of many paragraphs. I'm just joking with you, by the way. But let's start with your first paragraph. All right. Now you said,
Uh-huh.
and I'm assuming that this is directed at me. The majority of this is directed at me. So we'll take it.
It is an open letter to the Jasper Williams. Really, it is.
I'll,
It isn't. Yeah, I wouldn't call you those names and say all those things to you.
well, people do it. It's okay. But
Uh-huh.
but nonetheless, I didn't take it personal. I just that would just. But see, I'm the type of person I can take what somebody says and I could still read through and capture the points that I feel like are actually important. The name calling stuff,
Right.
I don't feel is important. So here we go. When you talk about white on white crime numbers, Latino on Latino crime numbers, and you say that they do exist, do you think that he or I would disagree with that?
No, I don't think that you would disagree with it. I think that the slanted, disposition of his speech, it just didn't
right
offer
because you said that because basically what you're saying
information.
What you're saying is that he basically focused on blacks and didn't focus on anybody else, right?
He blamed us, yes, for every myriad of problems in the, African American community today. Yes.
I have a question. Here we go. If it came to black people as a whole getting benefits, should he take those benefits? Let's just say if they were to give reparations, should we take our reparations and spread it evenly among white people, Latino people, Asian people, Mexican people? Should we spread it among everyone? Or should we spread it among black people that need it most?
I think when you're in an open setting like he was, you should speak to everybody. If you're in a closed
wait,
setting,
hold on. Wait. That was a specific question. I'm talking about.
It was a specific question, and what I'm saying is to that question, he was in an international setting. So
Right.
he should have kept information on an international par.
Right, but Aretha
If he
Franklin,
had just been in a black
Frank-
church talking to
Aretha
black
Frank-
people without cameras,
but Aretha Franklin
then
is wait, hold on. Aretha Franklin is not an international person when it comes to her race. She's black.
it was the platform. She presented an international platform, and thereby the message should have spoken to that international purview. But just lambasting black folks on that international stage, it was pretty unforgivable.
Okay, well, I have some questions for you. So here we go. Let's go ahead and dig into this thing. When it comes to worrying about white crime numbers, Latino crime numbers, Asian crime numbers, and any of these other crime numbers, if you notice that black people as a community are being affected more than anybody else, when you talk about 50% of the prison population is black people, which is only about 17 to 16% of the entire population of the United States. That is a huge number, and that is a huge problem. So why would we turn around and say, well, screw that number. How about we be concerned about everybody equally?
Well, was he talking about incarceration?
I'm talking about incarceration because it's all related. It's incarceration is all related,
so,
and because I can actually tell you where the incarceration rate comes from. It comes from.
Hold on now. I don't want to get too far out here.
We are on
now,
we're talking
about
we're talking about one
the
thing.
fact
We're talking
that
about hold on.
He presented.
Hold on just a second. I want to make sure that I don't lose you. I'm only going to be talking about one thing: the advocacy for children first. That is what we do here at the Soda You Dig. So when we advocate for children, the way that we advocate for children is making sure that they have a mother and a father in the home, because that is the way to produce the most positive results for children growing up to be something productive. So everything is going to always revolve around that simple concept. Everything. So even what he said, that's why I so strongly agree with what he said. If you understand where I'm coming from.
We were talking about we took it from the top with the Latino on Latino, white on white, all those things. Mm-hmm. And my point is that those Tuskegee numbers that he quoted for the KKK, that doesn't make sense.
When did he say, wait, when did he say anything about the KKK?
He said the KKK had killed X amount of numbers of black people, according to the Tuskegee report, but that blacks had killed another exorbitant amount of black people. And that's when he got into his black lives don't matter and never will matter as long as we kill each other.
Okay.
So this is my point. Those numbers that he cited from a Tuskegee report, they're not accurate. That's my main point.
Okay, so what's the,
about
wait,
that?
Hold on. So what's the accurate number?
Well, number one, we both know that there are many deaths that have gone, what do you have to say, unsolved, that can be contributed to any such KKK or racist white people or any such a thing. But moreover, I think the fact that the KKK are the basic sheriffs in the town and lawmen of the area, and so they got the hoods on. I don't think we should distinguish the hooded KKK from the law enforcement that's still killing black people. So that's why I'm saying those numbers are hogwash. I think
that's still, but even with that explanation, that still even doesn't make sense. Even if you don't have access to the number, you also have to remember this one thing, that you're talking about a very, very, very almost non-existent number of these so-called KKK members when you're talking about the white community as a whole. Otherwise, black people and everybody else wouldn't be allowed to do anything if it weren't for other white people standing against that small minority of people. Plus, if you're talking about anything when it comes to how blacks are treated in the Jim Crow era, whether it was through the slavery era or anything like that, there was a lot of territories and a lot of areas that didn't go through what the South went through. So that also would prove that it couldn't have been the majority of white people and just everybody in power and everybody that owns something and everybody that don't like blacks weren't killing blacks. That's not the case.
Okay,
that number probably doesn't even matter when it comes to the majority of black people at all.
Well, again, this was my concern about why he even raised that issue to begin with, as though it were to indicate that whites somehow have a right to continue to.
I actually have an answer for you. The reason why he brought it up is because what I refer to as a pro-black person, those are the numbers that they generally will bring up first. As they will talk about racism, they will talk about the KKK, they will talk about these racist police and all of this stuff. They will talk about those things and say, this is what's killing the majority of black people. When you can actually look at the stories that I've done just on my small YouTube channel, and I can almost guarantee you that the number of black people that are killing other black people, which are mainly the black boys, only the boys and only the youth, are killing more of themselves than any of those things combined, considering the fact that you call a place like Chicago, aka Chirac, and the reason why they call it Chirac is because the number of children that are killing each other, black children by the way, outnumbers the amount of people that have died in 2 recent American wars.
Okay. Well, I kind of took a look at Reverend Williams, the church that he's the pastor emeritus of, and I guess that's the church he was called to in the 60s or whatever, and now his son is the pastor there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Reverend Williams does not have a church, it looks like to me. But I was looking at the list of services they provide, and I somehow didn't notice anything about, mentoring or gang, intervention,
Mm-hmm.
So all the things that he's complaining about, the church where he's the pastor emeritus,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to offer any of those services. Can you take a look, pull it up, and see? Can you see anything? Otherwise, he's just grandstanding.
Okay, well,
what has he done?
So what your question is, or your concern is that he should be trying to counsel the youth that are gang members?
My question to you,
Mm-hmm.
what difference does it make if he has no solution, but he just wants to blame black people and put out a bunch of fake and phony numbers?
Well, actually, he did provide a solution. You just have to listen.
Oh, what was it? I missed it.
It's the thing that I just said earlier in the show that gets overlooked by the majority of people. And this is no slight at you or anything. I don't want you to mistake that. But this is the majority of people, which is why a lot of our messages sometimes gets misunderstood where we're actually coming from. The solution is to have fathers in the homes. What we are saying is black boys without fathers are the problem. The reason why...
Let me just be clear. So back to my point. So if you get divorced, then what you going to do? What you get your husband died, then what you going to do?
Well, you can actually point that scenario out, but the problem is that the majority of black women that are having children are not getting married. Not even close.
Well, you have the numbers on that too?
73%.
All right. And your concern 73%, is that those women
73%
need to
of black...
stop having children out of wedlock, and that's going to solve all of our problems.
It would. That's a.
Wait.
Stop. Hold on. Yes, I am saying that.
That if the women don't have the children out of wedlock, then all of our problems will be solved.
What if? Okay, let me ask you something.
Don't.
I'm trying to give you.
I just want to be clear.
I'm trying to give you.
If that's what you're saying.
I'm trying to give you an answer. I'm going to give you an answer, and then I'm going to explain my answer. I just said yes. So the answer is yes.
All of our problems are going to be solved as long as black women don't have any children out of wedlock. Okay, because 73% of them are doing. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now, what I was going to say to back up my point is that if you have the strongest gun laws in Chicago and going that direction is not working and you're causing more people to end up dead in your city, then it only makes sense to go the other direction. So what I'm saying is that if we have a high number, almost 80% of our sisters having children outside of wedlock, and it's causing us to kill each other, then how about we go the other direction is what I'm saying. So instead of continuing to perpetuate these horrible statistics.
All right, hold up.
No, what you cannot do
is what you can't. Practical way.
Sister, I have to moderate. I have to moderate.
No,
stop. What you're not gonna do is you're not gonna disrespect me on my show. And I asked you right before we started, as I said, let me please moderate my show. You can't ask me to give you an answer and then cut me off from giving my answer. Because what I said I would do was whenever you're ready to speak, I will let you speak and I will let you finish your point. But don't ask me a question and then start talking over me.
You do realize you cut me off on at least 3 occasions.
And I asked
but
you.
Go ahead.
And I asked
okay,
you.
I'm listening.
And I asked you to agree that let me moderate my show. If you have a call-in show, you moderate it however the hell you want to. I thought this is what we agreed to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold you to a standard, which is why I wanted to make sure beforehand that we had this understanding. If we don't have that understanding, then my sister, then we need to talk about it now before we go forward. If I'm going to moderate my show, then I'm going to control the direction of the show, and I'm going to try to give you every opportunity to finish any points that you have. But I thought the point was that you needed to understand why I said what I said in my video. I thought, which is why I thought is what you posted.
I think right now, I thought you were about to give me an answer as to how black women being married is going to solve all the problems that black women having children out of wedlock has caused all the problems in our black community, and you were going to explain to me how that is so.
Correct.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right, here we go. If the direction that we're going by having children outside of wedlock is not working, we're not getting married, we're having children outside of wedlock, my suggestion for us to do the exact opposite. Instead of us having the majority of children outside of wedlock, let's start having them inside of wedlock, or let's just stop making babies, period. That would definitely cause us to stop killing each other, because one thing that we know that is attached to these black boys killing each other is not having a father in their life, and the thing that is contributing to them continuously going to jail, perpetually going from school to prison, the prisoner pipeline system, is not having fathers in their life. That's the thing that's connected. That's why I would have to agree with Pastor Jasper's point. So yes, that's my thing. If you can read between the lines and understand what I'm saying, that's my answer to you. Simply yes.
Is it my turn?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're suggesting is that black women having children out of wedlock has something to do with the jobs in our community?
No, it has something to do with the killing.
Okay. So the killings in our community have something to do with the jobs in our community?
It has nothing to do with jobs. Criminals don't give a shit about jobs.
Okay. So do you think that if we had more jobs in our community, things would be better for black people?
No, absolutely not.
So how will they survive without jobs in the community?
They won't. They'll die out. They don't give a shit about education. So how they gonna get a job without education?
Okay. Reverend Williams had indicated that he had a particular number of people that he felt were being killed in a particular period of time.
Yes.
And he didn't fasten that to affirm, but you're saying that you too have those numbers, and that black women having children out of wedlock is the onus of all the problems, and that's why we don't want an education, and that's why we don't want jobs, because black women are having children out of wedlock.
I didn't say anything about jobs at all. I'm not adding jobs to that equation at all.
But you're saying that the problem with our community is that black women are having children out of wedlock, and I'm saying that the same people that are claiming that we don't want jobs are not putting jobs in our community.
I don't think
what does that have to do with if a black woman is married or not if we don't have jobs in our community?
I don't think the jobs matter, because the people that want jobs get them. You know how they do that? They qualify. You know how they qualify? With an education. How do they get an education? Because they go to a school that's worth a damn, or at least go to school, period, and graduate, which the majority of them think that is an accomplishment. That's like a basic necessity to have your high school diploma, and people are patting black people on the back for just graduating high school. That's retarded. They clearly don't give a damn about jobs. I hear about kids, girls and boys, dropping out of school, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, 11th grade. So
let me ask you,
what type of job are they
Can I talk yet, or am I still waiting for you to finish?
Go ahead.
Okay. do you have any numbers on the number of black women that are graduating college every year?
I do not.
Because it's my understanding that they're one of the number one groups uh, graduating college.
False.
Is it false?
Yep, they're the number one enrolled, not graduating. That's bullshit.
Oh, but now how come you can cuss on the show?
You can if you like. I said we
You
would keep.
said you didn't want any profanity.
I said we can keep it to a minimum. If you like me to read, if you like me to bring up my statement, I'd be more than happy to.
Okay.
I did.
Well, you're moderating, so where do we go from here?
I'm just saying. You asked me a question. Like, if you want me to bring it up, I can bring it up.
You gave me your answer, which is, to my understanding, is not. My understanding is that blacks are going to college and graduating college in record numbers. Now, if that is information has to come across your desk, I'm not going to argue with you about it.
It actually has.
Now, you're moderating the show, sweetheart. Go ahead.
It actually has come across my desk, and that's a statistic that Tommy talks about all the time. Black women are not the number one graduating; they're the number one enrolled. Big difference.
You said that already. I'm listening. Go ahead.
That's the difference. That's a huge difference.
All right, you're moderating. Go ahead.
Are you not going to address that at all?
Well, what it is that your information and my information is not matching up. And so, therefore, let's move on. You're moderating. Let's move on. We don't have to argue out everything. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I didn't hear you on the computer pulling any numbers up from any of the sources that you could share with me. So it's just talk. So let's move on. You're moderating. I'm listening.
Okay. Now, I said that I don't believe that education matters, but it seems like you're bringing this entire conversation, which I wanted to stick with what you wrote in your comment, but we're talking about education and jobs, which I actually said that those are not even things, like we can't even talk about that until we can talk about us killing each other.
I think you wanted to blame black women for the woes of our community, and I'm just suggesting you're moderating this conversation. Let's go back to my points. They're there.
Well, okay. All right. Let me see. I'm gonna try my best to read what you wrote. You said Jasper has. Let me see. Only inflated numbers about. Let's see. Jasper's report is how it was, but if you kill a white person, it won't matter. Okay, you said Jasper has only inflated one-sided numbers about blacks, but from where? Jasper's report is hogwash. But listen, if you kill a white person, it won't matter if whites kill whites or not. You're going to jail. So what's Jasper's point? I didn't quite understand what you were saying in that at all.
I'm saying for him to indicate that black lives don't matter because black people kill each other, and that white people don't kill that many black people, so it's okay if they keep gunning us down in the street. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think anybody reasonable thinks that makes sense.
Who is the us that you're talking about?
What is it?
Who is the us that you're talking about being gunned down in the street?
By comparing the KKK and the killings of black people by that group.
No. You said that. I said who when you said killing us in the street. I was saying who is the us that you're referring to?
I want to just make sure that we're clear about what I'm saying. For him to compare a KKK killing black people to black people killing black people, as though he's justifying white people killing black people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, even though white people kill white people, that doesn't give a black person justification to kill a white person just because they kill each other.
Okay, I'm with you.
And you will go to jail if you try it. Although they got your stand your ground, so they'll kill you and they ain't going to jail. So that's the way that works.
It actually doesn't, but I hear you.
It doesn't?
No,
Well, it's been a lot of stand your ground cases where they killed innocent black people, and that's another story.
How
so
many? How,
my
how
point
many? Because
is, it was stupid for him to suggest that the KKK only killed this many black people, and therefore that's not as bad. It's horrible if they kill one black person.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with how many we kill.
Okay. My response to that is this. If I had, let's just say this. If I had 2 piles of money, and I know that this money is going to get me somewhere, would I be more concerned about the smaller pile of money, the one that's maybe got like 53 cents in it, or would I be more concerned about the one that's got like $5,300 in it? If it were you put in a scenario to worry about which stack of money to be concerned about, which one would you be concerned about personally? Just that particular question.
Every life is important. And you cannot put a value of $1 on a life. That just reminds me of all these black folks that get gunned down by the police, and then they give their family a big lawsuit settlement. That does not bring back the life.
I didn't say
if black people are squabbling in their community and they have problems, predators should not take advantage of that. But that's what they do.
May I ask you a question?
I'm right here.
Why is it that whenever I ask you a direct question, you won't answer it, but when you ask me a direct question, I actually give you a direct answer and then I explain it?
Well, I'm old enough to be probably your mom. And so if you're asking me a flowery question, I'm not going to answer something that is not relevant to the conversation. Well, I'm going to get right to the point.
Well, I'll tell you like this. And since you're old enough to be my mom, I'm going to talk to you like you're my mom. And if I was standing in front of my mom right now, what I would tell her is if you want respect, you should give me respect. And if I ask you a question and you want a straight up answer, then you need to give me the same thing. It's exactly what I was saying.
It doesn't make sense about a pile of money. Human lives are not a pile of money.
If I ask you a question, it was relevant. There's a reason I asked you that question.
Okay, well, I gave you my answer to that question.
No, you actually completely said my question was flowery and went to talking about something that I didn't even bring up yet.
But it was the answer you needed.
How do you know that? I just told you it wasn't.
Because I'm old enough to be your mama. That's how I knew.
Because you're old?
Enough to be your mother.
And if you were my... What does you being old enough to be my mom have to do with anything?
Okay, let's get back to the topic because you want to moderate.
I don't want... I'm going to do my best to try to get through your... Through the rest of your essay here, okay? Here we go.
Okay.
Let's see here. Said, cause this stupid predator Jasper stank-eyed Chaka and had no words when Ariana was being molested on stage by his colleague. This man is a filthy pig. It's hypocritical Uncle Tom life that does not matter. He is dirty.
But can we just stop right there? Now, that was 2 examples of how he was player hating on women. He had no reason to stank-eye Chaka the whole song, just looking at her like she was doing something wrong. And then Ariana. Everybody up there know that minister was feeling on Ariana's kitty. And that was wrong. And then none of them say nothing about it. They was kikiing and he-heeing. That's why I called him a predator.
Isn't it her responsibility to say something?
Isn't it his responsibility to be moral in a church with his wife sitting there and a dead lady?
No, because I don't think the people in the church are moral at all. So no.
You know everybody at the church? Go ahead.
Did I say I know everybody? I said him. Where's everybody come when I'm talking about him?
You said everybody at the church. I don't know about everybody at the church. I don't know everybody at church.
You said, do I
Now,
expect...
where are we? He did those things against women sitting right there, and then he attacked Aretha. Go ahead.
Man. I gave my answer to that particular scenario, so let me go ahead and go to your next paragraph here. You said, ultimately, there is a difference between a single mother and a divorced...
Is there a difference?
Is there a difference between a single mother and a divorced or widowed mother? Is that a question that I can answer?
Sure.
Yes, there is a difference.
Okay, what?
The difference is one side, the divorced and widowed mothers, kids aren't killing each other. The single mother kids are. That's the difference.
Wow. Okay. I have no ideas about that. I don't.
All you got to do is...
I have no idea that the single mother unleashed all the killers. I have no idea about that.
Yep.
However, in raising a child, now, I'm sure they didn't raise their child to be a killer. But in raising a child, whether you're single and never been married or widowed, it's the same process. You teach, you nurture, you care, you provide. Most women have a brother or uncle or dad that help them in lieu of having a husband, or if their husband has gone or in prison, dead or ran off or whatever they do. It is a custom of Africans that in matrilineal societies, their brother helps them to raise their children. Now, if a man does not want children, he needs to use a condom. And I espouse that to every man that doesn't want to be a baby daddy. Use a condom.
Mm-hmm. And I disagree with what you said, especially that first part at the beginning. Because what I do is, I don't have great memory, but what I can do is I can write down and I can take notes. And what you said is that you said that they don't intend to raise their children and be killers. And I 100% disagree with you. I think that those single mothers are raising their children to be exactly that. Killers and people that ain't going to be nothing in life. I think that's exactly what they're doing.
I don't know where you grew up.
I grew up on the north side.
I thought you were through. Go ahead.
I grew up on the north side of Oklahoma City. So now you know.
Okay. Well, I grew up here in Los Angeles, and that is not my reality. And I know plenty of single women who have never been married, and their children are fine. They're not killers. If that's the way it is where you are, I'm sorry. I will pray. But that isn't the way it is all over the world.
Well, it's funny that you bring up California. When you look at one of the largest land masses that have gangs, and you're going to sit there and tell me, are you seriously going to sit there and tell me that you don't know that the majority of those gang members end up being gang members because they ain't got no daddy in their life? Are you kidding me? In California. All through California.
Let me know when you're through. I'm sorry.
All through California.
Okay. I personally don't know anyone whose son is in a gang. So that is something that is not a reality for everyone that lives in Los Angeles. Are you suggesting that that's a reality and every single mother that you know son is a killer?
I didn't say every single one. I said the majority. Big difference.
Okay, so let's just say of 10 single women that you know with sons, how many of them kids is a killer?
73%. 73% are going to more than likely end up doing just that, based on the numbers.
Becoming a killer.
Yes. That's what a criminal is.
Well, I really, what a sad state
And
of affairs.
and you grew up in
What a sad
LA.
state of
That's
affairs. And
crazy.
so, now, where are we, moderator?
I am still stuck on this thing that you say you grew up in California and you don't know that that is a problem when it comes to the gangs. And most of the gangs end up recruiting. And how do I know about your city more than you do? That's ridiculous.
Well, you claim to know something because whatever, but I know the people that I know that when I was coming up, if I knew some people that was in some of the original gangs, and they all had parents at home, so that what you're saying does not
I
register.
didn't say parents. I said fathers. Because you guys,
Parents,
you
as in
got
two parents. That's two
mother
people.
and father. The reason why most of those
Okay,
kids
parents,
end up in gangs
parents.
is because they ain't got no daddy in the house.
Okay,
That's
well,
how they
these people
recruit.
that I know that were in a gang that I'm thinking of, they had a daddy at home and a mother. They had parents at home. So that is, it flies in the face of what you're saying.
It actually doesn't. Why?
Your
Why?
stereotypes don't make any sense.
That's not a stereotype. Why are they doing documentaries and the gang members actually tell you from their mouth that's how they grew up in LA?
Well,
I'm talking about your
let me just
generation.
say,
Your
the
generation.
documentary that you're referring to,
All,
I
all,
haven't
all of
seen it.
them. All of them. All of them.
But I've been in this town my whole life,
Oh, Jesus
and
Christ.
I don't know what the percentage is of gangsters versus regular citizens in the community,
Damn.
but maybe, they just live and do something in an area away from where I live and where I do my thing. Maybe that's the case.
Let me ask you.
But they're not everywhere. It's not like everywhere you turn, there's a gang member. That's just not the way it is. It's a very large county, one of the largest in the country.
So why is
And
so why is it that the majority of gang documentaries come out of California?
well, again,
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have an
if
answer to
you're
that.
talking about a population of how many and how many are in gangs, I don't know. But as I said, the idea that gang members all come from a single mother is just not true.
How do you know this? You didn't. Wait,
Well,
wait, wait.
because as I
Remember,
said,
you didn't grow up
some
in
that
this.
I knew in school had two parents, as I just told you.
You didn't grow up in this. That's what your own words said.
I just told you of the ones that I did know when I was at Morningside High School, they had two parents at home. And they were some of the first people to do a drive-by. So they definitely had two parents at home. So what you're seeing is just not accurate on par.
It's not
But
accurate. It's not accurate
our
based on the people that you personally know. I'm talking about
as I
statistical.
said,
I'm talking about
when I was
statistical
in high
research.
school in Morningside, the first drive-by took place. That would have been in 1972 or 71 or 72 or whatever like that. And the people that were involved all came from solid families. It's just what you're saying is just generalized, and it doesn't hold true across the board. But are we almost out of time? Are we finished? Where are we? You're moderating. You're going to stay stuck on something?
You don't have to keep reminding me I'm moderating. I do this show every week. I don't think
Well,
I
we
personally don't
don't.
think it's funny
I'm not going
because
to argue with you about something that we don't have the numbers on.
actually you don't have the numbers, but let's keep going. Now, here's the last portion of your paragraph because I would love for you to start actually answering some of these questions. Said all his lies and BS numbers are pathetic. Races have been killing each other since the beginning of recorded history. Why single out our community? Institutional racism is the KKK. Take your lying and BS half-ass report and go straight to hell. Lackey, sellout, punk. Blacks are the first, and after us there shall be no more. And stay your, it says, bitch ass away from children of single mothers. Pedo, trick, Aretha is the reason for the season, and she wanted to be known as a great mother. Blessings to the Franklin family. I'm sure they felt their loved one was a great mother.
Mhm.
Now, when we talk about races have been killing each other since the beginning of recorded history,
Right.
this is why I don't like to talk about history very much, and clearly not with you,
When
because
is recorded history?
I just said I don't like to talk about that. I don't know when the hell it
Okay.
was, and I don't
I'm
think anybody
referring
really does.
to recorded history, in my understanding, began in ancient Egypt in 3200 BC when Narmer marched down the Nile from the south to the north and united the two lands for the first time. There's a tablet of Narmer, and with that writing that's on there is said to be the earliest recording writing in history, and it inaugurates the again the uniting of the north and south of Egypt, and he is the first pharaoh of Egypt, but he had to smite his enemy to take over and do that job. So that was really what I was referring to. They killed each other to unite Egypt for the first time in recorded history.
We can't even talk about since the 1900s. Why does the beginning of recorded history even matter?
Well, you just asked me why I said that and what it meant, and I just explained it.
I said, I don't think that it's relevant. And I said, I don't know anything about recorded history. And you said, let me educate you. That's what you said.
I'm saying we've already addressed this. It was imbalanced. He was on an international stage, and he wanted to point out three niggas in Compton. It's bullshit.
All right. Well, look, let's do it like this. I'm gonna wrap up on this point right here because I know that I have a definitive thought about it. So I'm gonna ask you your thoughts, and then I'm gonna present my thoughts. I think that's fair.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to saying that he was on a large platform and people are questioning whether his timing was right, why do you think that his timing was incorrect?
Well, we didn't discuss that, but everything he said that I've outlined was out of order. It didn't have a place there, period, because it wasn't balanced reporting. If you're going to say your right hand is doing this, well, tell me what my left hand is doing so we can get a clear understanding.
I'm listening to you.
What?
I'm I'm listening. I'm just.
You know, Aretha wanted to be known as a good mother
How do you know that?
because she said it in an interview. They said, when you go, how do you want to be remembered? She said, I want to be remembered as a good mother. And of all her fame, that was the thing she wanted to be known for.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, she wasn't recognized for her talents or the things that mattered to her, but yet Jasper went on this tirade about single mothers and Black Lives Not Mattering, and it just didn't tie into the theme for Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul.
I'll tie it in for you with another question. How many funerals have you ever been to?
30?
Enough. Black funerals?
Yes.
Black preachers
Yes.
that gave the eulogy?
Yes.
Are you familiar with Southern pastors?
Uh-huh.
So you should have a good amount of knowledge about how things go when it comes to funerals, eulogies, and how people speak and what they tend to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a funeral where somebody died of natural causes and somebody ends up talking about something that didn't have anything to do with that person's particular life when it comes to the eulogy? Ever, even one time?
Maybe once or twice.
I have almost every single funeral I have ever been to, from young kids dying to old kids dying, from my cousins dying to my brothers dying to my friends dying, and they die all the time, from my family members to my biker brothers and all kinds of people. Only generally what we do in funerals, and even all of the ones out of my personal experience that I've seen, what they do is they talk about the good things about that person that they know, because some people honestly didn't get a chance to get spoken of very highly because they didn't have a whole lot to really speak on. That's just the unfortunate part. For the ones that do, they speak on all of the wonderful things. They may or may not touch on what caused them to end up dying, depending on what it was. If it's a tragedy, usually pastors will talk about what caused the tragedy and possible solutions. But generally, when a pastor is talking, a pastor is usually going to preach a message that God put on his heart. And if you know anything about the Bible, if you're any level of spiritual or any level of religious or any level of believing in a higher power or anything like that, then one thing that the majority of people believe in general is that no one knows the time or the hour that Jesus is going to come back. You do not know if tomorrow is promised, and all you have before you is this day. The day that you are here seeing me right here and right now. So how does he know that he is ever going to get that opportunity if he even bothers to even wake up in the morning? He doesn't have any idea if he's going to take another breath in the morning. And what he sees is that there is a problem going on in the world, and if they give him a world platform for him to speak what God put on his heart, then who are we to judge him for what God put in his heart? That particular day, why would we deny what God put in his spirit? That is my response to you.
Well, I would say that he has a very hateful spirit, and that is what came through him. The God that he responds to is not so awesome. It's a pretty narrowly focused. I do believe he's has too much of a focus on single women. I do believe he's a predator. Again, he's the pastor emeritus. And you can pull it up right now, that little church where he is. Why don't they have the services for gang prevention and all these things? Gang prevention and mentoring, tutoring. Why don't they have those things at the church, since there's such a problem in our community?
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like me to address or anything else you'd like to say?
I would like to just add that it's also been said that Aretha did not request him for the funeral. I know you've heard that her sons were very disappointed with his message, but I've also heard it said they invited him because they knew of his long-standing relationship with their mom, but that their mother did not request him for her eulogy per se. So whatever the deal, she didn't make as big a deal out of him as he tried to put on.
Well, I've got a response for that, and if you didn't hear it in the video, like to hear it go again. Who better qualified than somebody who's known her entire life that just so happens to be a pastor? Who better qualified?
Well, how did he know her? In envy, spite, ignorance? Did he know her, the real artist, and have respect for her? Or was he just player hating on her to the end of her day?
Ooh. But they grew up together, though?
It doesn't make a difference. Everybody that you grew up with didn't know every aspect of you. Her dad was a big preacher. His dad didn't make it that big.
You don't like to answer questions at all. I think this is...
What? Okay, ask me again. I'll try to answer it the way you want me to. Go ahead.
Who better qualified than Reverend Jasper Williams Jr.? Who?
Smokey Robinson.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because he knew her as the little girl on the block. They were friends. Jasper was still in Memphis while she was growing up in Detroit. Smokey Robinson would have been much better. He was the one that went on television after she died, talked about when he first saw her playing the piano, when they first moved to Detroit, I guess from New York or wherever. Yeah, Smokey Robinson, a lot of people. There's mostly any other guy there that spoke would have done better for the eulogy than that man. Jesse, they all would have done better than him because they focused on the work that she did do. That was big stuff about going on that 11-city tour, funding the civil rights movement and all of those things.
Yes.
That's to be commended. I didn't hear nothing about Jasmine or his daddy making a contribution to the civil rights movement.
Let me ask you a question. Did any of those other people that you just named, because they had a whole bunch of people that came up there and spoke about Aretha, did they not?
Yes.
Did not all of those people already cover points that he could have covered? He would just have recovered them. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, since he had such a long-standing relationship, bring up some of your stories like the other people did. They told you about the time she called them in, insisted that she take a check, all the 11-city tour, whatever their relationship with her was. They kept it professional and personal. If you knew her since you was a kid, tell us a story.
Yes, ma'am. I feel you. Was there anything else that I might have missed here?
No, I'm just glad you're keeping up your good work, even though you've got a conservative position and everybody doesn't agree with it. It's still something to tangle with. It makes people think, and you just keep up the good work.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is what we're going to do. We're going to end this thing on my favorite, one of my favorite sayings that I've ever heard. And again, I definitely appreciate you, with all respect due. I definitely appreciate you at least taking the time and being brave enough to come on the show when most people generally wouldn't. They like to talk. They like to throw stones and hide their hand. But at least I can respect the fact that you at least took a moment to come on and hear what I had to say and for us to try to put forth this particular conversation.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play one of my favorite things that I love to hear. And if you could either stay on here if you want to hear it. If you don't, I feel you, but I'm going to play it anyway. Like to hit,
okay.
Go.
If you choose to ask me today, do Black Lives Matter? Let me answer like this. No, Black lives do not matter. Black lives will not matter. Black lives ought not matter. Black lives should not matter. Black lives must not matter until black people start respecting black lives and stop killing ourselves. Black lives can never matter.
Thank you, brother. Reverend Jasper Williams Jr. in the building, y'all. Thank you so much, man, for coming through to the show. If you guys want to call into the show, feel free to holler at your boy. If you guys want to call in, man, just hit my email, say something in the chat, shoot me an email, man. We're going to get it in. Once again, I actually thought that this was actually an awesome conversation, which is why I wanted to have it, because I thought that it would give us a lot of different things to be able to segue into. And it did, for sure. And some of the things I'd like to maybe dig into, at a later point. But again, I want to respect your time and say thank you for spending the time, because I know, we've had you on here for a while, okay?
Thank you, and you call me anytime, and I'm going to be keeping up with your work, dear. Thanks again.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, dear. Good night.
Okay. Again, guys, that was Sister Rati, and I'd like to thank her for coming on to the show. Like I said, I felt like it was a good, interesting show for a lot of different reasons. But like I said, man, if you guys want to call into the show, I'd be happy to hear what you guys have to say.